So we have a new month. And last month we talked a lot. I've been gathering some feedback from people. I'm starting to hear from many of these emerging agents. They're starting to really get a little more intentional around setting goals, which I love to hear. Last month, we talked about how we were going to make sure that we're scheduling time for learning and time for growing. And here we are 1 month later. We've got some more people on the Zoom this morning, and I appreciate that. And I'm so happy everybody is here. I kind of wanted to now I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit because we spent a little bit of time at the beginning. I wanted to kind of talk today about training priorities for new agents because we have we're growing our database, which means that talking to them might not take as much time right now. We are building up our client list, which means that we do have some more time right now than we might have 3 months from now, 6 months from now. And I never want you to miss or sleep on the opportunity to be doing other things because the person that's standing in front of you did a lot of E things as I moved towards P things. I started off as an entrepreneur. So I was doing all of these things and I was treating my emerging real estate career as a full-time job. I worked 10 hours a day when I was in the schools. I felt a responsibility to build my business and to work and be an agent every day and put in that time. Now, I realize some of us are dual career agents, so we have less time to commit. But if you want to walk away from your previous and invest in yourself and become a full-time realtor, it is going to be hard. It is going to take time. It's going to be doing the same thing every single day so that you feel so bored, you forget that you're succeeding. And that is what will happen. But you've got to be consistent about it. So dual career or primary career real estate agents, get to the point where you are always doing real estate things, where you're always bringing it back to your real estate career, where you're always reminding the people that you're interacting with what you do. So other things that we can be doing right now when you have this time is learning. And this is a great opportunity. I do many launch meetings with the other Keleigh. Those get recorded. Those get sent to the agent resource channel. We are starting to film the in-person Zooms. Those go to the library to be shared. So if you miss an opportunity, please go back and review. I've talked to many of you about Command Boot Camp. Another way for you to keep learning is to really understand command, because over the winter months, when things are a little bit slower and most people's real estate careers are slowing down a little bit because of the holidays, make sure that you're doubling down on other ways for you to stay top of mind. Command is going to be a great opportunity for you. And right now is a wonderful opportunity to go to YouTube to look up Marty Miller to do his Command 66-day challenge. It starts at step 1, takes you all the way through. The videos are anywhere from 5 to 15. But that is a great way to be learning. But I don't want you to just stop with that. So I've got some top 10 ways that you could be learning. And I'm going to just let you jot all these down and we're going to talk about them. First thing you need to really understand fully and well is contracts and paperwork. Last week during our launch training, we talked about buyer representation agreements. Working on a contract is going to require me to level up my tech ability so that I can actually show you my computer and you can follow along. So I'm working on that. But there's not a single reason that all of you can't be reading these documents, learning about them, trying to figure out what areas that you might need to fill out when you work with the buyer. When you work with a seller, if it isn't this contract, it's going to be a different contract. So being comfortable with the contracts that we use is very important. We need to know how to input a listing. There's actually, if you get inside the MLS, you can poke around, and there is an MLS input document that's in our MLS. It's also in dotloop as a KW document. Pretend that you're opening up a listing inside dotloop. That it's going to populate all of those documents so that you can start to look at them all. Because everybody talks about all of the paperwork that buyers need, but guess what? Sellers need all that paperwork also. So opening up a dotloop loop so that you can review, read over, practice filling is very important. If you've got specific questions, let's get them all together, send them to me, and we'll knock out all of those questions in a training. So that's one way to learn contracts and paperwork, because you're going to have to talk them through. Yesterday, while I was driving from one appointment to another, I needed to explain an exclusive right to sell agreement to my seller over the phone without having that document up in front of me. I needed to really understand the document, which meant that this was not the first time that I read it, was when I filled it out and sent it to him. Create, like I said, go back to dotloop, create a loop that's just your practice loop. You're not going to send it to anybody, but you can read all of those documents, practicing filling them out. All right. Item number 2, where you can be learning, is about the MLS and about general market knowledge. Sean Hadley had an update on lending. Every morning that you open up the MLS, depending on how you have your front page set up, there's the counter that shows the number of properties that are currently available, the number of properties that are under contract, the number of properties that expired. Knowing that information not only shows that you do this job every day to your client, it also shows that you're paying attention. You're starting to see trends. You can start to say, wait a minute, I'm noticing that the expired properties are starting to go down. We had a whole bunch that were expiring, now they're not. Look at that. Our under contracts are going up. What does that tell us? That tells us that the market has not slowed down just because it's back to school. The little drop in interest rates have buyers energized and excited. If our under contract number is going up, that means buyers are finding homes. What seller do you know that thought maybe they'd wait till next year because they thought the market was done? Maybe reaching out to them and saying, hey, this week I noticed that year over year, we actually are continuing to increase instead of decline. How does that help you? Letting your clients know that you're paying attention. They only care about what they care about. You are able to answer a lot more information. So educate yourself. Have an idea of the time on market. This helps buyers. This helps sellers. Gathering that information, and make sure that information is new. Talking about 3% interest rates is so 2021. It's not accurate. And it doesn't sound like you know what's going on. Because in the meantime, what Trish is dealing with is having a conversation with a seller that still thinks it's the 2021 market. And Trish is here to explain why it isn't and what's going on. So you need to be learning always about the market and about the MLS. So, item number 2, Item number 3, lead generation basics. I have talked before about ensuring that you do 20% of your activities are going to give you 80% of business. So be really, really intentional about it. And you can buy and pay to play, but most of us don't want to do that. So get back to lead gen basics. Talk to these people. Add more to your database. Many of you last week shared some goals with me. A couple of people said they were hoping to get 5 new people in their database. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand because I don't know how that would work on a Zoom, but I'm going to tell you I added 5 new people to my database. The more people that you talk to, the more people know what you do and are talking for you. The appointment that I'm going on this afternoon talked to his neighbor who has called me today about selling their house. The more people you talk to about it, don't be a secret agent. Talk about it, but share information. So adding people to your database, you have got to always be putting yourself in front of clients. So yes, calling the people in your database is one way. Asking all of those people, who do you know that I should be talking to? Asking who to meet up with to start planning for down the road. Get back to lead gen basics. Like, do you think that you could consistently add 5 new people a week to your database? That's a very low number that might take some time to get at as you practice. But get back to basics. Get your sphere of influence up. Go to open houses. Get on your social media. Get a way to get more referrals. Get your name into other people's mouths so they are talking about how amazing you are also. If you're going to be learning and growing, share that with them. Who would you rather perform surgery on you? The doctor that just they got their degree and they're a doctor, or the one that is at a conference about this, that is writing an article with other people about that. The one that's continuing to learn and grow is the one that makes you feel the most confident in their abilities. Be that agent, also be the one that learns and grows. All right. We talked number 4 is buyer representation. You need to be able to really talk about agency agreements. You need to be able to talk about what it looks like to have a consultation conversation. You need to be able to guide your buyer through every step of the way. Ask yourself, am I fully prepared to do that? If I got a phone call today with a referral, I do not know this buyer at all. Am I fully prepared to walk into that appointment, swing for the fences, and get the home run? Am I comfortable talking to them? Do I have a timeline that I understand enough that I can explain it to them? Am I providing value by letting them know the different steps in a transaction? Am I making sure that they're ready for step 1? How am I going to talk about how I do my job? What is my elevator pitch? These are all things that you need to have figured out before you walk into that appointment. Right now, some of us are still talking to family and friends. They're being kind and gentle with us. We haven't met that jerk that doesn't think that they really need an agent, that it's super easy to do the job. They've got Zillow. What's the problem? Get with someone else on this phone call, swap numbers, have a conversation. Let them, hey, be like, hey, I need an accountability partner. Will you be a jerk buyer client for me so I can be a jerk buyer client for you? It's just friendship. We're just helping each other out. But I feel like I need to get my teeth into this. That is a very important growth step. Being able to talk the talk in a way that makes sense, that builds confidence, and that shows your abilities. So definitely spend time educating yourself on buyer representation. Now, after buyers come sellers. Item number 5, listing presentations. Who's got a listing presentation? Who's ready to go to a listing appointment this afternoon? Because that's how it goes down. Sometimes you get a phone call from a seller that's like, hey, they are ready. They're all of a sudden they're ready to sell. Today's the day they got to get that appointment in. Are you ready to go to a listing appointment? Do you have a listing agreement? Are you ready to talk about pricing strategies? Now, again, pricing strategies are around all of the education you're doing with the MLS. So you learn about the MLS and then you get to talk about it as part of your listing presentation. So make sure that when you have that opportunity to sit down in someone's family home and guide them through the sale and transition of their life into a new home, make sure you're ready, because they want to tell you about the dreams and the hopes and the memories and all of the wonderful things that happened in this house. And that's very important. But what they need to hear from you is, how are you going to sell this property? You're going to market it. You're going to do market research around it so that you're priced appropriately. What is your strategy about open houses? What promises do you have for these sellers? So, listing presentation, learn it, know it, understand it. Make sure your listing presentation matches you as the agent. Item number 6, let's keep learning time management and productivity. Time management means that you put something in your calendar and you honor it. You don't remove it. You just reschedule it if you need to. Many of us have navigated many different things since we have met over the past 2-3 months. Some of us have been sick. We've had kids go back to school. We've lost a beloved family pet. We lost a family member. And as hard as it is to navigate going through all of those things, if you had a traditional 9-to-5 job, you only get so much time off for bereavement. You might get no time off for the passing of an animal. If you're just having a really hard day and your mindset is off, you still have to be there. Now, I realize that many of us chose to become a real estate agent because we didn't want to work for somebody else. But those frameworks are what make businesses strong and stable. Saying, we understand you've had a loss, but you still have to come to work, is the reality of working for someone else. Sometimes we have to be the jerk that we work for. We have loss but we still have to show up, because in 2 months from now, if we keep our head down and we are not paying attention to the life around us and continuing to move forward with our business, life is going to happen. And next thing you know, it's been 2 months and we've been sad and we've been upset, but we also haven't been being an agent. And now it's even harder to dig deep and get started. And we have to. So please learn your way of working and how to be accountable. Learn that even if you spend 15 minutes doing something that you don't want to do, it advances your business. Yesterday was a very hard day for me. Some of you may or may not know that my father passed away unexpectedly 2 months ago. Yesterday was a very hard day, but I still scheduled Instagram posts. I still wrote a listing. I still prepped for pictures today. I still did the things that I needed to do. Now, I wasn't out in the community as much yesterday because I really wasn't front facing ready. But I still did the job that I needed to do, because I know that if I lift my foot off the gas, it's really hard to press it down again. And at this time, when our market is slowing down a little bit for the holidays, I want to make sure that I'm staying top of mind. I don't want to be one more thing that gets swept under the rug as people get busy. So even when you are navigating a hard time, learn that you do control your mindset, and that even 15 minutes of productivity can move the needle. Learn that time blocking is your recipe for success. So please continue to work on that, especially if you are a dual career agent and your goal is to walk away from working for someone else to work fully for yourself. Learn from the structure and the framework of the bigger company, adopt it for yourself so that when you do step away, you feel comfortable and confident about how you are going to work for your own productivity. All right. Number 7, what else are we learning? We need to be practicing and learning negotiation skills. Those can be harder, but because, you're like talking about specifics, but at the same time, I invite you to get a partner and practice back and forth. Not every buyer gets their offer accepted right away. What does it look like when you represent the buyer, but the seller's agent is coming back with negotiations? How can you help still find the win-win for both sides? Having these conversations, think about it. The same reason that they wrote that offer with 3% back, is that the point that you really have to continue to negotiate on? Learn about your buyer, learn about that offer, talk them through, ask hard questions. Because if you send all of this over and they come back and the agent says, hey, listen, my seller doesn't want to give 3% in closing costs, they have a really hard time with that. Well, if you learned about your client, you might know if that is a hard point for them or not. If it is a hard point, how are you going to still continue to negotiate for them and try to get that win-win? Negotiation skills take some time. You have to advocate for your client. You're going to have to handle objections. You're going to have to navigate multiple offers potentially. Practice having those conversations. And pro tip, call the other agent. Anytime you are ever going to be submitting an offer, call the other agent. See what they will tell you. Learn what you can from them so that you can talk to your client and help them learn the strongest offer to write in this circumstance. I want you to understand that there's always going to be the chance that your buyer's offer will not get accepted. And then they're going to say to you, I would have gone higher. Why didn't they come back to me? I didn't know. Well, you learn and then you teach your buyer. You need to, part of your negotiation skills need to be a conversation with your buyer. You need to know their pain point. Learn their pain point and realize that that pain point might change house to house and offer to offer. But if you are talking about negotiations, you need to understand very clearly what can't be negotiated about. If your client really does not have the money to close and they really need that seller contribution, what's the next conversation? How are you practicing having that hard conversation with the client? You know what? The seller really doesn't want to give any kind of a credit. All right. We learned that in our conversation with the other side. Well, my next question is, well, why do they feel that way? Because I know my buyer is going to want to learn that. So I'm going to ask that question because I'm advocating for my buyer right now. I'm learning for them. Oh, well, the seller doesn't like to do it because when they bought their house 40 years ago, they did not get any seller concessions. And they think that every buyer that shows up and looks at their house should be ready, willing, and able to buy. And they don't want to give any seller credit. All right. Here's my chance to educate the other agent. You know what? I completely understand that. But, with the market shifting, buyers are going a little bit more all in and they don't have as much money left. My clients have down payment money, but they also want to do some things with the property. So they want to keep as much money in their pocket as they can. That's why they're asking for that seller credit. Now, I understand your seller is coming from it in a different way. If my buyers were to increase their price, add it on, and then ask for it back, how would that look for your client? Learn about the other side too, because every single contract that's currently getting ready to close happened because of collaboration, and it's a win-win for both sides. Sometimes getting to the win-win means you got to learn a little bit more about the other side to get your win-win. But practice your negotiation skills and being able to tell the buyers and the sellers what you do for them. They don't know. Teach them. Learn your job and then teach it to them so they're bragging about you to all their friends. All right. Number 8, marketing and branding. Right now, most of us we're entrepreneurs and we're moving towards being purposeful. So we might have a whole bunch of hats that we are wearing and trying to show people all the different things that we are. Maybe narrow your focus. Again, think about 20% that are going to give you 80% of your business. Learn about new builds. Go to new builder developments. Learn about new builds. Read everything you can about it. Learn and then turn around and teach it to your clients. Maybe that is your niche. Not everybody does that. Maybe that's what you do. But learn about what you want. Look and spend time there also. If you're going, people, a lot of agents say that they want to use social media as a way. Well, again, being purposeful about social media means that you spend some time. We talked about this last week. Review your own social media. Is everything correct? Is everything right? What's the balance of your social media? Learn about yourself, see what you're serving up. Is that what you want to continue to serve up? Build it out. Learn about, your branding. You're like, you know what? I'm Keller Williams. I'm red. I love it. I love the block print. I'm going to do my branding around that. Or maybe you decide that you want to do your marketing and branding on something else. Maybe a passion project that you just learned about. Like maybe you just realized how incredibly hard it is for veterans to purchase. So maybe you went a little bit deeper. Maybe you got VA certified. I am. Maybe you started talking to veteran organizations. I do. Maybe you are just out there supporting as an ally to veterans, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to slowly build that because this is my passion project. And that might take some time to build that, but learn about yourself and then make sure that what you are putting out there does align with you and the business you want to have. Number 9, technology and tools. I am still learning. I know that I do not use command to the fullest of its ability. And I'm still trying to figure out how to record and share my screen with everyone. I have to learn and grow also. Pick a problem around technology and figure out a solution and talk about it and tell people how you learned that too. Maybe that's part of your social media. Maybe you show that this is your year of growth. What would it look like if you planned out your next 6 months and decided that you were going to do these things, and then you took your buyers, clients, family, and friends along on this? Learn about yourself, let other people learn about you. Now, technology and tools, we have resources. We do have people that can help us with that, but most of us do learn by doing. So don't be afraid to fail fast and fail forward. If you do better by actually hands-on, get into dot loop, get that fake loop, figure it out. Make sure that you know how to send, receive, download, save, share, print as a PDF. All because not every agent wants their offers the same way. Sometimes they want you to submit through a link. Sometimes they want a PDF. Sometimes they want a loop. Know how to do all of those things. Learn more about it. We all now have Canva. And when I have some spare time in the next couple of months, I have a list of where I want to learn and grow inside Canva. I encourage you to do the same. Item number 10, mindset and business planning. This is the most important, in my opinion, way. Because your mindset is how you show up every single day. And I already shared, yesterday was hard. And I wanted to just sit and cry. At the same time, I realize that I could also sit and cry, but still write the listing for the seller that needs to move out of state. They're dealing with something just as big as I am. It's just different. My mindset reminds me that I feel better when I show up and actually accomplish something, even when it's incredibly hard. My mindset reminds me that right now, if I feel overwhelmed with work and I cut myself some slack, very soon I might find myself in a position where I have no work. Mindset is what makes me show up every single day. Business planning. Now, Keller Williams, we're having a 6-hour CEU on business planning. If you need the link, text me. I will send it to you. If you want me to just get you registered, I can do that. If you're nervous about going into a room full of complete strangers, I will be there. So there are all of the reasons why you don't want to do it. We can disregard, do it for the right reason, which is you do not know how you're going to get to where you want to go. If you don't, I mean, you have to start with the end in mind. If you just get in the car and start driving with no endpoint in mind, where are you going to end up? Know where you want to be. And this builds backwards. Now, I'm going to tell you very honestly that business planning is not my most favorite day. I don't necessarily love that part of my business. But every year, I still show up. Every year, I still invest the time and the energy into doing this. And every year, I have been surprised by how much easier it has gotten to do this. And it's a reminder to the investment that you're willing to make for yourself. So, those are the top 10 ways that we can be learning. And I'd like you, and as you noticed, as we talked about them, they all kind of feed to each other. You know, by learning about the MLS and the current market, I have talking points for my listing presentation and my buyer's representation conversations. By having negotiation skills, maybe that's part of my branding and marketing now. As I learn and become stronger in that, I realize that not as many people are as good at that. Maybe that's a gap that I step in and fill. All right. We have 10 different things that we talked about. I would appreciate if all of you think about it and pick one or two to focus on. Please text me what one or two things you want to go deeper on this week, because I want to know so I can check back in with you and I can ask. And I know I've talked about this a number of times. Please introduce yourself to the other people that are in the room with us, that are on the Zoom with us, that we see in the office. If I could be every single person's accountability partner, I would be, because I consider it that important. If you are having a hard time with conversations, you have to suck before you get successful. Get the sucking out of the way with a friend, partner, agent, associate, so that when you are on stage with buyers, sellers, and investors, you've already got the sucking part out and you've learned and you're ready to go. All right. Top 10 things to work on this week. If you want information about Mayfield Village open houses, please text me. If you need help getting signed up for business planning clinic, please text me. By the way, I am letter Z and I'm in all of your phones and no one has D2'd me. And you don't need to, but I do want you to make sure that you are every week talking to new and different people. And what the heck? Everybody try to get 5 new names. I said 5. 5 new names in your database this week. Get out there. Ask the people you are talking to who else you should be talking to. Walk up to a complete stranger in a coffee shop. Listen to what is happening around you in the store. Oftentimes people go to the store to buy Rubbermaid bins because they're getting ready to move. Listen to what they're saying. Introduce yourself. Have cards in your pocket. Hand them out. Put yourself out there. Be uncomfortable and learn. And have a great rest of your week.